Hi, so in today's video, I'll be telling you about my painting classes and I'll be telling you about ear, an ear. Okay, so that's the section from Piglet entitled Symbol, I think it is, yeah, or Image. Forgive me. So either symbol or image. I think it's image and image. Okay. So if that's something for you, if you are curious about further events from my book Piglet, then stay tuned and off we go. So I think when I was studying graphic and design, I just really had my painting teacher, who was the person who had extrasensory perception developed. And who was a good person. Other than that, maybe the man who gave us lectures on pop culture. Yeah, and maybe, I'm not sure. Someone recommended me the dry needle technique. And as that technique really fitted me and I really started to like it, and maybe that teacher was a good man too, but I don't even remember what was the name of the class. So my painting teacher told me, just to start with, she told me, I see you. So she addressed the aspect of invisibility. And I remember a few projects, like, I remember that I did a really good painting when I was standing on the mirror. And the mirror was very symbolical in a lot of ways because of Snow White and Trisha being around me on the mirror. Like all of us, we use mirrors, but I think she used it more often than any one of us. And the mirror work is actually, depriving somebody of value is connected with, making them not to be able to look at themselves in the mirror. So, yeah. Therefore, when I grasped the picture, which was very courageous, and it was, painted in blue and orange with a lot of, certainty in the hand movement. That looks like pretty much the history of Africa. I mean, just to, generalize for now, I see a lot of, 88 movement activities, the book with Responsive Classroom, or I see Vanessa Paradise dressed in orange in her video clip and the song about Joe Le Taxi. So it looks like, those two colors as if stand for African people, possibly. So that painting was very brave because it also depicted me, as if my reflection in me standing on the mirror, and then as I'm standing and I'm wearing a short dress, a blue dress, dark blue dress, and then I'm a little bit exposed in the mirror. Of course, I'm wearing the underwear, but still. So even my teacher just told me that this is a very brave painting, very interesting one. But as we were looking at the end of the school year, we were looking academical year. We were looking at all the paintings and all the works we did, and there was one which she told me, "Oh, just look at the painting first." It's dirty. The bottle is very flat. But uh, okay, I think it's enough. Um, it's a little bit dirty currently because it was standing a little bit behind the wardrobe. Uh, so the bottle was pretty much flat, but she told me, "Oh, it's you use a lot of white, and when we do that, then it means we are scared." So it's just unbelievable because I could be like 22, 23 when I did that painting, and then when I was going to London, and then when I lost my passport, or before going to London, I left my entire blue bag at my professor's office, and it was closed with the key, and I had no keys to my flat, so everything was in my bag. Um, so therefore, the fact that I have painted that bag, and I had painted a diary in the bag, and I have painted a bottle uh, many, many years later. Yeah. And then, even in a psychiatric hospital, when I was just waiting in the corridor and all my things were, in a psychiatrist's office, then I had to knock on the wall and tell him that I needed my things, although I was there because didn't want to be close to my bags. So I knocked and I told him, there are my things, like, my documents in the little bag. So I need the little bag. I got the little bag. So that was fear over the bag, number one. And then there was this, event preceding going to London, where I really left my entire bag with my documents, with my keys, with everything in it, in my professor's office when I visited him. And then I went to London, and well, I talked to policemen, and I just walked away because I didn't want to be interrogated anymore, and I didn't ask for my passport, which obviously at the airport it was found. Um, Um, so the fact that my teacher told me, it's white and it may indicate that you were scared. So when painting that, I was scared of putting the lines, and I was scared of not destroying the painting. But in fact, maybe I was scared of something else. Um, so that's really surprising. That was really, really like, wow. Um, and with that teacher, she told us to go to the zoo, and that could have been the very first time when I actually started to draw animals. So I drew ostriches, and I remember her just looking at my classmates because those ostriches happened to have their heads in the sand or in the something. um you know how ostriches act, and with when it comes to ostriches, then I have so many names of Strushina, a district in Tarnów, Stróżna, village, and Przycznica Strusińska, a name of a street where I lived, and Strusinianka is the name of a bakery that's very popular in my town. It's like so many ostriches, like the name of ostrich is included in those places I have mentioned in Polish. So yeah, there's gonna be something about ostriches coming too. And I drew a snake. Obviously, my sister used to have an, an a ring with a snake, and a snake is um it's a longer story of the cobra drawing that my brother made, and I thought that it was a positive, good symbol to have that snake. Um, but it was probably not. And In today's video, I also wanted to tell you about an ear. So the story of an ear probably starts with Mrs. Wojcik in a primary school, who told us that we had dirty ears, and she didn't want to be specific. And I started to feel unsafe about my ears, and I started to think, oh my god! But I don't see when I clean my ear. I don't see if it's clean or not clean. Then in the middle school, there was Miss Kotecka with Bolesław Leśmian in the choice of poetry, like not walls, but cats have ears. And then when I was 33, the very first book before Piglet, I have written a book for children. So the first colony of sheep on the planet Mars. And quite often, the cat Philip has a tendency to lose his ears, which is not shouldn't be treated literally, but rather metaphorically. But these two meanings are mingled together because um, it's about his ability to be able to jump from the roof to the roof, and from the windowsill to the windowsill, to have those cat's movements, that being that flexible and skillful. So in a sense, he can just walk with his ears and stuck into the walls, and he's worried about two deers having an argument, and he can always navigate and listen through the walls. So these are the conversations they have, that they mingle two realities, the physical, literal, and metaphorical one, by telling to the cat, go and glue your ears to the walls. um, which is just one example, but it happened very often in those conversations. So that was a little bit, yeah, that was cool. So I liked it. I liked what came out of it. But sure thing, there was more. Like, I remember visiting my brother, and one of his friends recommended me Lust for Life, and she didn't remember what was the book about. She just remembered it was good, and it was actually good. It was a story about Van Gogh, and it's a story about him being Aries and him having passions for life. And Van Gogh had family who had a business of galleries, and he kind of never made to those galleries, and that's kind of surprising, because this art of his was really visible. Because I have to tell you, when I looked at the reproductions, whenever I looked at the magazine, I just was like, probably I don't like it. But it was when I went to the Netherlands and I visited the museum housing his paintings, and I saw it in the real proportions, in the real size, and I was like, how something so visible was made so invisible? How? Not to mention that Van Gogh himself had a painting in blue and orange, the painting depicting him without his ear. And the story of his life is a story that in which he would spend the money also on a horse, and one of the prostitutes would repeat to him, "Give me your ear, give me your ear." So finally he cut off his ear and handed in his ear to a prostitute. Which, sure thing, theories are he went mad. But it can be done also with covert hypnosis too. And you have an explicit order in here, like, give me your ear. I don't know, but that makes sense to me. And sure thing, I already heard it in my family, the argument that this belief, common belief that artists usually are unappreciated during their lives. Well, let's wonder why. Because when you go to a gallery in Tarnów, which I sometimes did, then I looked at something and I thought, okay, I don't like it. But then I thought, it's probably because I don't understand it. And now I understand. You know, I understand, the girl who was just learning to draw with me, and she wasn't good at it. And then many years later, she came to yoga class and she told me that she was attending the Academy of Fine Arts. And I was like, but how? When before I went to study graphic and design, of course I would love to go to that academy, but I never thought I was skilled enough to even try. So I didn't even try. And then she comes who couldn't draw and she tells me that she got in. So I sit and I look and I think, but how? And then we have Zosha. Maybe Zosha is in the gallery, and still you could just sit and wonder how. And then you would ask yourself, well, this art is just so, I don't understand this art, and that's it. You get that? Um, yeah, because, the other story I just heard was the story somebody exhibited a banana, and a tourist came around, ate a banana, and there was a court case over the art of the banana on the wall of the gallery. Or we went to the museum with my teacher and we looked at the torn paper, to give you an example. Well, it was a manga museum, but it would be that would be, say, a composition, and then here you have part of that composition is off, and you can just wonder, how did he torn this paper? If it was fast, or if it was, he hesitated, or do you like this art of mine? Is it intriguing to you? Well, exactly. So that's the art. Uh, yeah. So I think it just happens very often to people when they are influenced by hypnosis, that that we go and see the work of a cult, and that's not always but often lacking just essence. And I went to the gallery in Tarnów and I looked at the painting and I just didn't understand, the woman who drew much worse than I ever did could have her paintings exhibited in the gallery, and I wasn't into, going and seeing all of them. I just looked at a few of them and I was like, well, no, this is just not good. That's it. Yeah, but I was telling you more about ears. So Van Gogh's story is a story of an ear, and then bachelor. I was writing also my bachelor thesis, and there I wrote a lot about Emily Dickinson poem, like when she says, "In being but an ear." So she talked about as if, three compartments of, the brain, the soul, and the body, and then becoming just an ear. So as if all you have this all sensory deprivation, and you just have one sense available from which you size the information from the outside, and that is your ear. As if, if you look at the literal meaning of the poem. And that was like, yeah, whoa. Yeah, if you look at the literal meaning. That was interesting for me because we always looked at the poetry as, this what does that mean? What does that mean? And that's cool too, we look for this, metaphorical, more abstract meanings. Um, And as I wrote about ears in my book for children and in my bachelor thesis, and even in Holland, I met guys and they told me, oh, we are just eyes and ears of the neighborhood, and we are just listening and looking if everyone is behaving well and if there is anything to report. So they were our eyes and ears of the neighborhood, a very poetic name indeed. And the reason, the possible explanation, interpretation I have over here to explain why I was dealing with ill looking at in ear is because of the Akashic records. The people actually, when they try to enter your Akashic records, they don't try it, they just do it without you knowing about it. It's in the area of your ear. I mean, both of your ears. So you have public side and private side, as I have learned from David Snyder. So most of the time they look at your private side on your left side, as if looking at your ear, but it's next to your ear and very close to your ear. So, okay. Okay, you guys. So maybe possibly that was why I was still, just paying attention to an ear in Van Gogh's book and later writing about ear. Or this was why I liked Boleslav Leshmian's poetry about not walls but cats having ears. Wow. Okay. So, if you wanna buy my course, Amelia, if you want to buy my book, Piglet, then click the link in the description of the film. You'll find the info over there. You'll find it also on my website, Facebook, Instagram accounts. So if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.